All right, so um, I know that a lot of us are saying that backwards Undertale theory has basically been debunked by this point, and you know what? I think it's very fair for people to act like that now. But I think the thing is, we were just thinking about it wrong. So, I mean, when we look at these, right? Like, the beginning is very similar to the ruins. It's like the sort of like castle area. It's like royal area. Cyber's world that is still very similar to the core. Late Night is still very similar to Hotland, and Prophecy is still very similar to Waterfall. But I think it's because we got the starting point wrong. We kind of got the order wrong. So it's like the beginning is actually the one that's meant to be similar to the ruins. And then the flower chapter, which is all about Asgore and like his flower boyfriend or whatever. Like this is meant to actually be more so um the what was it called, the new home of the series. And so Undertale, it actually had like seven distinct chapters, like six, seven distinct chapters. So you've had the ruins, and then you had Snowdin, right? And then you had Waterfall, and then you had Hotland, and then you had the core, and then you had New Home. So what we're missing here is Snowdin, and it actually is very likely for Chapter 6 to start out in the Holiday Manor. Like, that's actually a very fitting place for Chapter 6 to like, start out as. I do think it will become the Roaring, eventually. I think that just makes sense to me, that it becomes the Roaring. Um, and then Chapter 7 would actually be the parallel to True Lab, and that would be if we actually end up getting into the shelter. Because True Lab was something that you were not able to access unless you did everything right. Unless you did the pacifist ending right, you would not be able to access the True Lab. And so maybe the deal with like side B or whatever is that there's actually two ways to get to chapter 7 in this version of the story. The normal route will still end at chapter 6, you know. There's only one more chapter after that and then everything stopped. And of course it'd probably be the Hell on Earth chapter. It'd probably be the flood, right? The darkness, the roaring. Chapter 7 will be when we get to save the day, right? It'll be the holy chapter, the light chapter. We use the light to overwrite the story of darkness. Something like that. Um, so I actually think what we were missing was that it wasn't backwards Undertale theory. It was reorganized Undertale theory. And that makes a lot more sense to me than just straight up backwards Undertale theory. Because it's an anagram, right? It's an anagram, so all the pieces are in like a different order. In fact, I think that's part of what's going on with the prophecies. That the prophecy isn't really a bad thing. It's just it's out of order and it's incomplete. And so like really what we're trying to do by the end of the game is we're trying to like complete the prophecy, if that makes sense. That's different than like fulfilling it. That's like we take the unfinished story that's here and we like write on top of that. Like I don't think we're actually going to change any of the events that happen in the story. I mean, a lot of people will say that since Rousey didn't burn the flower forest in an inferno of jealousy, then that means we did subvert something. But I don't think that does, because that wasn't actually part of the prophecy. That was one of the things Gerson brought up. It's like Gerson brought up the events of Lord of the Hammer, which are like not really the prophecy. It's like a story based on the prophecy, which had some stuff that was like different, and it also just like added some stuff onto that. And so I think what happened was that Gerson just saw the way that the story was going and assumed that the Fire Mage was going to burn down the Flower Forest because he knew that the Fire Mage was going to be jealous during that time. But Rousey actually subverted Gerson's expectations by not burning the forest in Fire. Um, Also, another thing I could add on to that is that the Flower Man trapped an asylum. I actually think that could be fulfilled by like Yellow putting himself in jail, you know? So it's like, a lot of people were saying, oh, well, it has to be Asgore. The Flower Man has to be Asgore. And so we have to take Asgore and, like, put him in jail and put him in the shelter. But no, there already was a Flower Man that was, like, trapped in asylum by his own choice. And they just let him out of asylum because he wasn't actually guilty of the crime he thought he did, right? I don't know. The story is going to play with our expectations a little bit, and I like that. Then, of course, like, the thing is, I would have been interested if the field was burned in an inferno of jealousy. I would have been interested if that was just, like, a possibility for what could have happened in Chapter 5. You know? Like, that was a possibility. It doesn't seem like it was a possibility. But, you know. Another thing I've considered is that the prophecy could be referring to, like, the different possibilities of what could happen rather than, like, the one way things are gonna go. I don't know. I mean, the end of this video sort of, like, drifted off into other topics, but my main point in this is just, like, a short video, is that backwards Undertale theory isn't necessarily dead, it's not backwards Undertale theory anymore. It's reorganized Undertale theory, which I think is probably for the better, right? Probably.